Thank you once again for listening to us.
Absolutely.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Malc.
And I have been talking about this for a while, but I have finally isolated the audio from your first encounter with a superbike at the TT. After having teased it for so long.
Go on.
And I've mapped it to a button on here.
Go on.
Holy shit!
I've had to bleep it because I've put it's a clean podcast. Not advocating swearing.
Well, plus in all fairness, I am a vicar and I shouldn't really use
I
profound
think what happened there
words.
in that moment was a primal response to.
It was. It was my first time. Where were we? What's the point on the racetrack?
Why am I drawing a blank on this? I should know this.
Because you told me last time.
Hilbury corner.
So it was that my first day on the racetrack, wasn't it?
It was the first day. Our good friend Amanda likes to show people who've never been to the TT before Hilbury for their first try because it's one of the only places. I mean, you go watch it anywhere. The bikes get pretty close to you, but on Hilbury corner they get really close. It's mind blowing.
It's terrifying. So it was actually Michael Dunlop who I reacted to, and I'm lying with my head over a wall, and the white line is about 8 inches away, and he pretty much is on the white line, travelling at about 160 miles an hour, about to take a right.
You can smell what kind of aftershave he's wearing. Let's put it that way.
You can, and it's terrifying because 1 minute is a little speck in the distance, and then he's going past you.
And you're there leaning over the wall, sticking your phone out. They've had to ban selfie sticks for obvious reasons, but people still bring them.
Can you imagine?
And so you're lying there over the wall, and you can see he's coming, but it's coming in a straight line, so you can't quite gauge how fast it is. And then he just zooms past, and
Holy shit!
It's the only reaction.
That's the reaction.
It's the only one you can have. It was amazing. It was. I've got to say, of course, we weren't lying in wet grass. It was a beautiful sunny day. Anyway, but there you go. It's good.
That's it.
It's good.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
I've got to cue the intro yet.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Sorry.
You've got that caught up in that. I've got to cue the intro. There we go. We can start properly now.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say every time we meet for the foreseeable future. I love that intro.
I'm quite pleased with it as well.
That's all I'm saying. I think it just sounds awesome.
Doesn't sound, I mean, not to blow one's own trumpet, but
you did very well, Andy. You did very well, sir.
That was I mean, it didn't take me that long. I just found the royalty-free stuff and mashed it together.
You're a genius.
Garage band on the Mac.
You're a genius, young man. And I can say young man.
Wasn't even on the Mac, was it? I think it was on the iPad because I was.
Was it?
I did it when I was horizontal. I mean, broken my ankle and I just was.
Oh yeah, of course.
Anyway,
it's good. It's good.
What are we on about today then, Malc?
Well,
what about this time?
We literally didn't we? We had a chat before we started the show. This is how organised we are. But we decided that actually, what come to mind was relationships. Actually, relationships.
Yeah.
And what got me thinking about it was
not ours. I should point out. This is
no. Okay. In fact, I want to say relationship. Relationships and fellowship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know
what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we say relationship, and we're going to say that quite a lot. Okay, we're not talking about intimate relationships. We're not talking about marriage or anything like that, or romantic. We're just talking about relationships, being with people, friends. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. And what got me thinking about it was the fact that Amanda's just come back from the Dragon Rally, hasn't she?
That's correct.
Because she's hardcore.
Should we explain what the Dragon Rally is?
Go on.
So the Dragon Rally is one of the most hardcore
I think so.
bike rallies, bike meetups in the country. It's based, I think, historically, it's based off a German bike rally called the Elefantentreffen, but it was Elephant Rally.
Okay.
And it took place in the Black Forest in the dead of winter. So as you can imagine, in Germany, there's snow everywhere and people in ice and whatever. And the really hardcore riders in Germany or all over Europe would meet up and spend the night camping in the frozen wastes, in the frozen in the conditions. And so we have a couple of rallies of that ilk. There used to be the Frozen Nuts Rally, which is no longer running. But that's there's one actually there is one.
Isn't there something happening?
Yeah, they say each one they say there's the last one and then they bring it back.
Okay.
So I thought it wasn't running, and then it turns out there is one actually coming up in March. Would you believe?
Yeah.
But the Dragon Rally is a one-nighter. It's one night only, and the location is usually undisclosed. Well, it's always undisclosed. They call it Checkpoint Charlie, but it's like a meet-up.
Yeah.
You congregate there throughout the day, and you get given the location of the rally, and it's in Wales, in North Wales somewhere. And you literally turn up, you pitch your tent. I think for turning up, for buying the ticket and turning up, they give you various bits of memorabilia. I think they give you a snack and a single of whiskey.
They do, yeah, they do.
Which is nice of them.
Keep you warm.
And so I have only attempted it once. I have not done it personally. I've only just attempted it.
You did go there, didn't you? You actually went, didn't you?
So I physically turned up. I think it was 2022, February 2022.
Yeah.
And I was all set to go, got my bike ready, met up with Amanda because Amanda loves doing it. Met up with Amanda just over the Welsh border, and we started riding to this meet-up place. And everything was fine. It wasn't even that much of a bad day. A little bit drizzly, a little bit cold, but that's it's January. That's what you expect.
That's how it is, isn't it?
Exactly. And so we get there, we sign in, we find out where we're going, and we set off. And the weather just turned and just got progressively worse. And I remember, because everything started to steam up as visors do, and I've got a pin lock visor, but it shouldn't do that, but it started to, and Amanda's was going mental. She just couldn't see, and we were winding down this road it was just between, I think it's between Llanberis and Beddgelert, if it wasn't the particular campsite we were going to. And
I'll take your word for it.
Take my word for it. Yeah.
It's easy for you to say.
I think it was between Llanberis and Beddgelert, but anyway, that's by the by. We were snaking down this road, and what should have been the clue was the seemingly endless hordes of bike after bike after bike coming back in the opposite direction.
Never a good sign.
Fully loaded
when you're heading to the campsite.
I think I must have just been so focused on.
Not falling off.
I've just been so focused. Yeah, not falling off, not having a crash. I must have just been so focused on that I just wasn't. That didn't compute for me. And we got to this campsite. It was by a lake, and it was just completely waterlogged.
Yeah, yeah.
There was absolutely no chance that we were gonna. Some people had managed it. Some people did stay. But we there was no chance, and we just looked at it and we just thought, right, we'll give it a little bit, because they had a barn, or so there was a building where they were serving soup and things like that for us in there. So we got all the stuff. We were drying off a little bit and warming up in there with some soup and whatnot. We're still thinking we could give it a reasonable go. And then we found out that because Wales at that time had slightly different COVID regulations still than England did.
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to us, there still wasn't. You weren't able to have mass gatherings inside like that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Still at that time, even in the start of 22.
Yeah.
So they couldn't provide shelter for the band.
Right. Okay.
So they got a band, like it's a full on rally. So they got bands, they got music, they got all that stuff lined up. There's all sorts there. It's well organised. It's not just a random meet up in a field. Yeah. But there wasn't going to be anywhere indoors.
Yeah,
and
that would have done it.
Amanda and I would have had to have shared a tent, which isn't the end of the world, but wouldn't have been ideal.
Yeah.
And my tent's more than big enough, but we just, given all the things that weren't ideal about that, I just thought I've got work on Monday. Like I can't. I'm gonna get sick. Like I'm gonna get ill. And it's not gonna. I'm gonna catch cold or whatever, and I'm just not going to enjoy myself. Particularly, and everything would be wet. Be riding home in wet gear, especially if the tent floods. That's my tent knackered.
And by the sound of things, it would have flooded because the tents were floating, weren't they?
They were floating, yeah, at that point
in the afternoon.
So we made the brave decision not to continue. So we got all the swag, as it were.
You did,
but we didn't actually attend the rally. So that's.
Well, I've actually got to say something because I should have gone to that rally.
You should have.
And they bless them. They give you all the swag for me. But do you know what? I will not wear the badge or put it on my cut.
I haven't put mine on either.
Because I feel it would be wrong of me to even suggest that I went to that rally. So I haven't done that. So I've kept it. It's on my desk.
I've got it on my desk too.
So,
I've got
the
coaster is on my desk. So the nice slate
very
coaster.
nice slate coaster.
Nice slate coaster they gave us. Yeah.
It was good. It was really good.
And so what was supposed to be actually quite a nice party in a field ended up with me lying alone in bed with a single of whiskey and a chocolate bar.
Yeah, back home.
Going in my own bed on
But
my
you
own.
got listen, it's an adventure.
Warming up.
And do you know, I think that's a big part of biking. It's the adventure, isn't it?
I couldn't agree with you more.
And going back to why we're talking about the Dragon Rally, relationships.
Yes.
And Amanda went to the Dragon Rally last weekend, and she was just telling me all the people that she bumped into, people that she's built relationships up with over a number of years.
She's famous for that. She can't go anywhere without. We'll have her on at some point.
We will definitely.
We'll definitely have her on because she is an incredible person.
She's phenomenal.
A force of nature.
She'll love me for that.
She will love me for that.
She will. No, I'm being serious. She will.
I know she will.
She will take that as a compliment.
She'll be listening to this and.
She's very good.
Plotting.
She will talk to anybody.
It's true.
She's very, very friendly and I mean in a good way. And so she's just great at building relationships, actually, isn't she? And the point I want to make is that actually I know a lot of people. Amanda goes to so many rallies, and so do you guys. You know, so do CMA and Bikers Shirts. We go there, kind of.
As many as feasibly possible.
Yeah.
Feasibly possible, yeah.
And the relationships we built up over the years and we continue to build up, actually, what I love about it is it's great to go and see people who you perhaps see once or twice a year, but also what I really think is amazing and important because of kind of what we do and what our aim is, if you like, you know, we often get to have really good conversations with people and help one another out, don't we? Talk about stuff.
That's right, yeah.
Whether it's how to fix a motorbike or we're having a really rough time because we've lost a loved one and everything in between.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And really is everything in between. And I think for me, the fellowship is we just help each other out. It's like, for instance, like I've been dabbling in graphic design and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah.
And one of the guys in CMA was saying he wanted to start a new business and he wanted a business card for it. And I basically said, but he had no idea where to start.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm a dab hand with websites and emails. So I basically just said, it's all right, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Like,
love that.
We'll meet up, we'll sit down, you tell me what you want, and I'll design it, I'll do all that, and we'll go, you know, we'll come back. And, you know, our good friend Mike, he helps with mechanical things.
Oh, he does.
Bits and pieces. And Amanda, bless her, she knows of every single rally going on. She knows all these things that are going on, and she feeds that back, and we.
I mean, literally everywhere you go, somebody knows Amanda.
Yes.
I mean, so everywhere. I mean,
the biking scene.
I haven't done a huge amount of rallies, but I've done quite a few. But I've been to some really obscure places. Well, not obscure, but you know, just different places. Somebody, where there's bikers, and somebody always says Amanda, and there's a big hug and a conversation.
That's it.
It's great fun. It's good.
That's it.
So yeah, it is. But I think that's what I love about the sort of the biking world. Full stop. The fellowship in bikers, even down to when you're driving down the road and you get the nod.
Oh, the nod.
Even that's nice, isn't it?
The nod.
I like the nod.
The nod is. I think it's unique to the UK and Ireland.
Is it?
Yeah, because we can nod because we can't wave.
Yes. Okay.
Because if we in Europe, they give a little wave or
Okay.
a little like peace sign or something.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the right side of the road, your left hand is on the clutch, so you can take your hand off and give a little wave or whatever. But because we're on the left side, you can't do anything with your right hand.
You'd have to take your hand off your accelerator,
and
off
you
the
can't
throttle.
you can't really use your left hand. I mean, you can give a little wave, like I suppose, but it doesn't really make much sense.
No.
So that's why the
nod.
little nonchalant little
Love
nod.
the nod.
And there was a moment actually on the nod when when was it? So when I was a learner, when I was on the 125 with L plates, I didn't think like I could dispense the nod.
Because you thought you weren't worthy of a nod.
Yeah. And then so some people would nod to me and some people wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then if they nod to me, I'd nod back.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I got my my big bike, my 650, then I started to dispense the nod.
Right.
And I suddenly felt qualified to. And it was weirdly like. Weird, because you're just going like
it's like it's like you got a twitch.
Like you got a twitch,
which I do have. Actually, I just say I do have a slight twitch, and I can do that. So it comes very natural to me, nodding.
Just doing that. doing that. Yeah, but it's one of them, and there's something about it because it's a helmet. I don't know. There's something about that head movement that.
Do you know? I remember the first time I got nodded on a bike, and it felt really good.
Really good.
Because you're thinking I'm brand new, but these guys. And do you know what? I'm going to say this now. If somebody doesn't nod because you're on a smaller bike than them, can I just say something? They aren't worth nodding at.
Or if you nod and the nod isn't reciprocated.
Yes, that's rude.
Oof.
Just rude.
And sometimes you make the argument they haven't seen you, but
let's be honest about it. You very rarely miss a biker. If you're a biker, you look for the bike in front, and you've seen the moment,
and you've seen the nod.
Yeah.
And if they're not gonna reciprocate,
well,
they're
lost. They're lost. Stuff them.
In Christian love, of course.
Oh yeah,
stuff them.
Totally in Christian love, but still stuff them.
Still stuff them. Yeah.
So kind of back to relationships. I guess what I wanted to talk about is a number of things really. But why are relationships important? We've already just talked about the fact that friendship, recognition. That's important, isn't it? Just having people who you know, support. And I think just a basic kind of human need to be with other people. I think actually it's its absolute kind of rawest form. It's that, isn't it?
It's why, what's it called? Solitary confinement is punishment and against most people's human rights or whatever.
That's one of the worst tortures.
One of the worst ones, isolation.
Well, just locked away.
Solitary confinement.
Nobody speaks to you.
Yeah. Have you seen Shawshank Redemption?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great film.
Yeah.
Let's not go there because we'll start talking about that for half an hour. We made
not a single motorbike in it.
It was a great film.
It's a great film. Not one single bike in it.
It's a great film. So I think there's just a need for it, isn't there? Because I used to think that I like to spend time on my own. Now, don't get me wrong, I do. I do like my own space.
Me too.
And I used to think that I would be perfect living in the countryside in the middle of nowhere. I thought that was my dream, okay? And then I've really realised how untrue that was. And do you know, I think I actually went through life early on almost trying to convince myself that I wanted to be on my own. And that sounded really strange.
Is that because you hated everybody else?
Well, I didn't hate people. I was nervous.
Really?
I had a real kind of low self-esteem. So I find it very hard to talk to people. That's the truth. Okay. Self-disclosing, look. It's true.
Ironic.
It's really well.
No, I suppose in a way, if you find it hard to talk to people, the best way to cure that is to talk to people.
Well, it would be, but I literally didn't dare. I had a real kind of phobia. I just found it. So I thought being on my own would sort that, but actually it really was not good. And now I actually love cities. I like being. Even if I'm not talking to people, just being around people. People watching.
People watching is always interesting, and I think I do some of that. We do some of that at events, and if saying that, it says like we're watching people. We're staring at them. We're spying on them. No, that's not what we're doing.
No.
But if you just sit and observe what happens around you sometimes, because often we're so caught up in our own stuff.
Yeah.
If you sit down and observe what happens around you, you see all sorts that is pretty cool and interesting, and changes your perspective a little bit.
It does. And what I found was when I actually kind of broke through the fear and started to mix with people, everything changed in a really, well, let's say everything changed, that's a bit dramatic. Not everything changed, but actually my life improved. I started to feel better, because I've always struggled with depression and stuff, and anxiety. And I thought staying away from people was the answer to stopping that. But actually, it wasn't. When I started to meet people, that's when the fear, the anxiety, the depression started to subside. Huh. So I just think relationships are mega important.
So it's not to say the opposite for me would be true. Some of it, the opposite is true for me.
Yeah.
But so I grew up in a city for one.
Right. Okay.
So I grew up. I spent most of my childhood in moving around and whatever. But I spent my teenage years was in the Lake District anyway. So I was in the countryside there and then. But I am very used to living in big cities.
Yeah.
I'm done with them now.
I've had enough of them.
I've had enough of them, and I kind of live on the outskirts of Liverpool. So I'm kind of it's just enough of a built up area, so it's not inconvenient, but at the same time, I'm not like there's not swarms of people wherever I go anywhere. But while I was getting to was I've always been extroverted. I've always needed the company of others in order to feel all right.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly in my element in smaller groups. Terrified of public speaking though, but that's another that's another separate issue. But so I'm fine in groups and social settings and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
It was interesting for me. I'd always surround myself with friends and colleagues and things like that, so I didn't have to be alone. And I towards the end of my 20s, I sort of learned to appreciate my own company in the sense. Moving out helped a lot, I guess, there. Because I do so much with other people. Sometimes I'd relish those evenings where I'd like do nothing and just watch TV or Netflix or whatever it would be. Having said that, during the pandemic, when the pandemic kicked off, like I was suddenly in a flat completely on my own. Yeah. And I did have to go to work, but I couldn't really work from home properly for the first instance of it. So I was either commuting down an empty motorway to an office where there was nobody there, and then going home to a completely empty flat.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody discovered Zoom calls en masse, and there were, I can't remember what app we used. It wasn't Zoom, it was something else. But
Teams.
No, it wasn't Teams. It was
Teams?
no.
Okay.
Rob found something. It was pretty good, to be fair. It did the job, and it's fine. But you talk to people through a screen, and it isn't the same.
No, no, you're right. No, we need that interaction, don't we? We need to be close to one another. There's something,
And I got massive fatigue with it. To the point where, and it did things. It caused me to do things that I wouldn't otherwise do, like I'd drink excessively. I drank excessively in the pandemic.
That's interesting because I think there's been a real kind of these problems are starting to come to the fore, aren't they? Now people are starting to realise just the amount of impact that the pandemic had on society, actually, and drinking addiction is one of them, actually.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. And I was genuinely, and I was in a really, let's say, dark place, but and no one knew how long it would be.
That was the torturous thing about it, wasn't it? Because they kept being, well, when's the date that we can actually all come out? And it was like, well, actually we don't know.
Is life ever going to be the same again? Obviously, we now know that it's it's not too bad, but it was at the time.
It was
and
hard.
Then the subsequent ones, I suppose we were kind of. I'm talking mainly about the first one. Because at the start it was like everyone thought, oh well, and then my sister was with my parents. So I wasn't. I was just on my own, and so you filled the time with, so I'm ashamed of it now because I could have filled the time with my relationship with God. I could have spent the time devoting myself to that and coming out even closer to God than I was before, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the people who fared best with the pandemic were people who kind of almost had. They used it as a time to get closer. Whether spiritually, whether with God, whether with. I had a lot of young families saying it was great to have, mums and dads. Great to be at home with the kids, be there for breakfast with them. They couldn't go to school. It was
some people
hard initially.
For some people, it provided nobody got sick or anything. It was a really quite a positive experience, all told, despite the fear and the power, and the uncertainty. I mean, the only highlight of that time was when petrol was £1 a litre for me. Just practically giving it away.
That didn't last for long, did it?
It certainly didn't.
That didn't last for long.
But it's just one of those things. And so I think finally being able to, and then gradually they eased things up, and you could have, I think to say we broke the rules, we didn't really break the rules, but we did start having little meetups outside
gatherings
in Mike's garage, Mike's garden, which became known as Daytona Diner from that moment on.
He did.
Because we need each other. And we missed each other, and I certainly missed the fellowship and and it's a vital part of our existence. And I I would say actually that aside from, I mean, I was fortunate in the sense to have grown up in a Christian family, so I never I have a Christian family by default, but not a lot of people do.
No,
not a lot of people, especially new Christians, don't necessarily have a Christian family by default.
No, very often you can be the only Christian in the household. That's not. In fact, I think that's more and more common nowadays because we're in this kind of what they call is a post-Christian society. You know, we're not. They do say now we're not a Christian.
We're not.
Society.
Not by any measurable.
No.
I mean, unless you want to look at the Church of England in terms of prevalence in relation to the state, but by any measure of census, poll, whatever, we are no longer a predominantly Christian nation.
We're not. No, we're absolutely not. No.
And it's not. So the idea that, I mean, for me, I suppose I've been very fortunate to always have had a natural Christian family, and to an extent Christian friends around me from there. But right now, in this very moment, thanks to the CMA, thanks to Bikers Church, my Christian family has never been larger, and of course my local church in St Helens, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can't forget that. But
yeah.
My Christian family has never been larger than it is now, and don't I feel better for it as a result?
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah.
My goodness, I mean, it's all very well and good having your family there, but to have friends and to have fellowship across many demographics, across and I have motorcycling to thank for that. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. Do you know? I was just thinking about the pandemic again. I was thinking, something good that came out of the pandemic actually was a real sense of community, and I think that came because people realised actually how important their neighbours were, how important those people that we bump into down the shop who we just take for granted, who give us a nod on a morning.
Suddenly you cared about if they were all right or not.
Suddenly it's like, I haven't seen them, and I miss I miss that interaction. And it was amazing. I know here in Stoke-on-Trent, here in Abbey Alton, 9,000 people on this estate. The community were amazing, and kind of got involved in all sorts of things just to see a smiley face through a window, or just to get to the end of the gate, and that was something good that came out of that. But interesting, isn't it? That came out of a need and a desire to be in relationship with others.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So actually the good that came out of it wasn't the isolation was awful, but it did make us realise just how important relationship is. And something else which is interesting. Would you agree, Andy? One negative thing about relationship is when it goes a bit Pete Tong. do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can point to several instances where we've all got on each other's nerves, and there's crosswords have been said and things like that. But
yeah,
I think to myself, that's the nature of we are by definition flawed.
We won't go into theology of that, but we're all a bit broken.
Not going to go into theology of that, no.
Or actually, as we say here in Stoke, St John's, we say we're all stuffed.
That's true.
All right, but it's all right. There's good news at the end of it because we've got to save you. But anyway,
man, you guys are.
yeah, I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah, I'm all right.
I'm fine.
Yeah,
but no, it's. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No,
I am.
Well, yeah, but I was gonna say. What was I gonna say now?
Don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe that's why I interrupted you.
Maybe that's why you interrupted
because you weren't quite sure what you were going to say.
Sure, it wasn't making sense.
Look, actually, what I was thinking. So relationships are important. We saw it in the pandemic. Something that good came out was this kind of community, and also actually what came up. We've talked about broken relationships, but actually the number of relationships that I know were repaired through the pandemic because people realised I miss them, and actually also that extra added fear of, do you know what, people could get sick. And I may not see them again.
Yeah,
I think you just put things in perspective, didn't it?
Trumps anything, to be honest.
It does, doesn't it? And you say, do you know what? We need to give our heads a wobble, and we need to sort ourselves out. And the number of people, neighbours who had never spoken to one another or fallen out because the dog had messed on the neighbour's lawn or something. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. Or the kids had broken the greenhouse. Realised this is ridiculous.
No, it's petty.
When we can get together, let's pull a panel out of the concrete. The concrete fence in between us, and let's have a party because we can get together now. Do you know what I mean? But it was that was an amazing side of it, wasn't it? So relationships can be hard. Yeah, they need working at sometimes, but that brings me on to asking you a question.
Go on.
See, because I think, and this is kind of where my thinking was, I think. My thinking was, I think.
You think, therefore you are.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I aren't clever enough for that.
Yeah.
I'm just me.
Anyway,
crack on.
Crack on.
Yeah, what was I saying? I think as Christians,
Yep.
for me, when I came to faith, one thing that really blew me away and has continued to blow me away is the fact that I now feel secure because I'm in this relationship with somebody who I know will never leave me, never let me down. Do you know what I mean?
I do know exactly what you mean. And I was going to say, I was going to add to that in the sense that do you think that we as people, because we are made in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah, we are.
So does that therefore mean that our need for that stems from our need to be in relationship with God as well?
I think it does.
It's a lesser version of that. Than
yeah. I think we were created, aren't we, for relation. I mean, well, God said, didn't he, right at the start, okay, he made Adam. He said, this isn't much good. He needs a partner. So Eve came along.
That turned out really well for him.
Well, I know, but ultimately it's ending well, isn't it? We know how the story ends.
Absolutely.
Okay? And good came out of it, didn't it? Okay.
Quite.
It was good for a day or two.
It was all right.
Ish. Yeah. But it was. Well, God is... Okay, so we say, don't we, as Christians, let's think about this, okay?
I was a real rib particular.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I see you all day. God said, okay.
I actually am.
People say, you're what? You're God?
Here all day.
Oh, right, okay. We're told, people say that, well, the Bible says actually that God is love. Now, to love, what you got to be in to love.
You want me to say relationship, but I was trying to think of something funny.
And you can't, can you?
No, I can't.
So, the point I'm getting at, all right, is that, listen, God, let's not go, the Trinity, right? God has always been we and us, hasn't he? Always been that. He's been in a relationship. We're created in his image to be like him. And I think I'm getting that in a very long-winded way to agree with you. I think because God is who he is, and because God is three in a relationship and he loves, we also long for a relationship with others, but more importantly with him. Because that's when I think we feel it's our best, isn't it? Now, some people are watching this might be thinking, well, I'm not a Christian, stuff that, I'm all right.
Yeah, I've got my mates, got my family, what more do I need? But,
yeah,
tell you.
Well, the truth is, we can have the best mates and the best family, but unfortunately, they won't be with us forever, and they can let us down.
Sadly, the case. The case. A human relationship is going to be flawed by you'll fight with your friends, you fall out with them,
and this is not
your family even. Worst case. I mean,
families are a nightmare, aren't they? Don't all families at some point? Listen, I love my family, but let's be honest about it. We all have us ding dongs, don't we? You know, for those closest to us, very often. I can fall out with my shadow.
We all have us. I can fall out with my shadow.
Dear, I tell you.
I can't.
Were you going to say something?
I can't. It's gone. It's gone. I thought of something funny, but I've lost it completely. Falling out with your shadow. There's got to be something in that.
There probably has.
Oh, there's got to be something in that. No.
Sure there is.
Yeah, and they're all...
Oh, sorry.
It's got the noise of you scratching.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. That was me scratching my beard. I do apologise.
I might have to stick that in the front. That's funny, that. It's just the noise. Oh, sorry, that was me scratching my beard.
This is a serious topic. We're talking about relationships.
It's a really serious topic, and you're just scratching your beard.
Why?
Absent-mindedly scratching your beard.
I had an itch.
Yeah, okay. If in future, if you have an itch, you can always just mute. Don't mute yourself because it'll sound weird on the audio. Anyway, beside the point. 5:22. Right. So where was I at? I was talking about. What was it?
I don't know. I did come up to because you went. You stopped talking and started pointing fingers at me because I was scratching my beard. That's what you did.
Ruined it.
Well, you haven't ruined it. I think we talked about relationship and we come around to the point of saying, actually, well, what I'm saying, I'm just going to say, okay, the best relationship we can have is, well, I would say the best relationship anybody can have is with somebody you know will never, ever let you down.
Quite.
And I would say We can only say that about one person.
That's true.
And I would say that's Jesus.
We can't say it about Triumph Tigers.
No, we can't.
We can't say it about KTMs.
We can't.
Nope.
As much as I love them, and can I just say I had a fantastic ride yesterday, but anyway, that's another story.
But we can say it about God.
But we can say about God, can't we? We can say about God. We can say, because you know what? This is really cool, isn't it? So God's three. So we have a Father in heaven who loves us, all powerful. Just getting that over there, okay? We have the Holy Spirit who lives in us. That's how close he is to us. And we have...
And all around us.
And all around us. He's everywhere all at the same time. And we have Jesus, who was actually human in the flesh with God the Father now on our side, always. Always be with us. And how much did he love us? He died for us. Now that is a pretty awesome thing, isn't it?
It's pretty mind-blowing.
I think so.
About it.
And yeah, so...
But do you know, I think the point of Jesus becoming human and doing all those things on earth, like as a human would, was to give us a frame of reference.
What, almost an example?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly that, an example. To say, look, this is how you should live.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you. And he actually says, you know, what is the way? And he goes, I am the way.
I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
You're right. And you know what? And what we get is, what was Jesus? Why did he come to earth? He came to reconcile. He came to fix a broken relationship.
Yes.
Didn't he? Between us and the Father. And he did that. So I think what you're saying is spot on. He is the perfect example.
Thank you. And we've gone, thank you. You just said you thought what I was saying was spot on.
Well, I do.
Yeah, thank you.
But you're welcome.
And we've come full circle there.
You think it's a good time to end?
I do, but before we do,
Yes.
we have been asked by one of the guys in CMA who's getting married.
Okay. Oh,
Our good friend Pete.
Pete.
Pete's getting married.
Oh, of course he is.
Pete's getting married.
Is that June?
Yeah.
In Chester?
Yeah, that's right. He's getting married on Saturday, 29th of June at 3 p.m. And he has asked me to announce it on the podcast.
Right. Go on then.
With postcode.
Right. Crikey.
Yeah.
Home number, bank details.
Well, I tried. So he has... I said, are you sure you want to invite literally anybody listening along to your wedding? And he was like, yeah, I do, yeah.
Big
I was
venue.
like, are you sure? I was like, what's the capacity? And he just goes, I don't know. I was like, okay. So
Let's go for it.
So I'm just going to do it. He's asked for it. I'm going to do it. So our good friend Pete is getting married on Saturday, the 29th of June at 3 p.m. And that's at the Festival Church, Chester.
Brilliant.
And I don't actually think I do have the postcode. My apologies. It is CH13LG on Queen Street. And yeah. So
Fantastic.
I think he just wants as many people to turn up as
well,
possible.
We're going to be there.
But
on bikes.
We'll be there, yeah.
On bikes. Cheering him on. Be good. Looking forward to it.
That's...
Mate, I've really enjoyed today.
It's been good, isn't it?
I'm really pleased that I was going to say I'm in a relationship with you. That might sound slightly wrong. That you mean mate.
In Christian love.
In Christian love. You're a brother.
Indeed.
We are, aren't we?
We are.
That's what it is. It's true.
We are.
Mate, it's been cracking. All right, I'm looking forward to next month.
That's some age gap, though, isn't it?
What's that?
Brothers.
What, for us? Yeah, it is. Are you 30?
31.
I'm 52.
Yeah.
It's like 21 years.
Now,
What's
isn't
that
it?
between friends?
Nothing.
Hey. All right.
Do you know, I was just thinking about that song, isn't it? As I get by with a little help from my friends.
Oh, wet. Was it wet? I get by with a little help from my friends. Ooh, I get what?
Nothing. I don't. I'm gonna have to Google it now.
I think it's wet.
Do you? If I'm wrong on this, I'm not going to say who I think it is now.
Go on.
What's it called?
I get by with a little. I think I get by with a little help from my friends. Marty Pello. No, not Marty Pello. Marty somebody. I don't know. You got it? Who is it?
It's the Beatles.
I get by with a little from my friends. Oh yeah, it was initially, but no, it was. It was the Beatles.
I was going to say it's the Beatles, but you just said wet.
No, because they did it. I'm sure they did it afterwards. Did they do it as well?
Probably did.
Just check, please, because I want to just make sure I'm right. Because did Wet do it as well? In
Was
the
it
90s?
Joe Cocker version?
No, it wasn't Joe Cocker. I get back.
There is a wet, wet, wet.
There is, yes. Is it Marty somebody? Does it say his name? No?
Scottish soft rock band Wet, Wet,
Yeah,
Wet.
that's it. That's him. That was him.
I didn't realise they were. Of course, they're called Wet, Wet, Wet because they were Scottish. It's just always raining up there, isn't it?
Wrong one. Sorry,
Yeah.
that worked perfectly. That was smooth, that was.
That would have worked perfectly. The song was released in a single in May 1988, double A-sided with another cover to album, She's Leaving Home by Billy Bragg and Cara Tivey even. It doesn't... Oh, Wet, Wet, Wet.
What's the lead singer called?
Oh, Wet, Wet, Wet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just find that then.
Crack, this is an exciting podcast, isn't it?
Members Graham Clark, Graham Duffin, Kevin Smith, Kevin Sim.
There's a Marty guy, I'm sure there was. Okay,
Marty Pello.
It was Marty Pello. That's it.
Past members, so maybe he was...
I am happy now. Now I know I'm right.
Cool. There we are.
Okay, anyway, bless you, bro.
Yeah, man.
We better, because in all honesty, people are going to be arriving soon for Bikers Church.
Set up for Bikers Church and do all those things.
We do.
Yeah, well, I'll figure out how to cobble this all together. And as always, thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you in the next one.
We will. I've had a great time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.